Hello friends, welcome. I am Charlynne Bryan. I am poet and author and facilitator. I am also an educator. Today, I have come here to just share a little bit about myself with you, hoping that you will be inspired to share your story with confidence. I started writing when I was about 8 years old. Writing poetry, that is. My poetry is a reflection of the things that I feel. It is a reflection of the person that I am. It is a reflection of all of the things that I've been through that's gotten me to this point in my life. When I sit down to write poetry, I never think of what I'm going to write beforehand. I just let my thoughts flow onto the page and say exactly what is my emotion at the time. But not everybody can feel that way. Not everybody can write from their head. Sometimes people need a little bit of help. So as a poet, what I try to do through my facilitation is I try to encourage people through prompts to get their writing onto the page. Sometimes it's easier than others, and sometimes people are afraid of the word poet and poetry. So I always urge people to start with a thought. If you can write one thought down about how you are feeling, I think that is the start in getting a poetry onto the page. If you start thinking about it as a series of thoughts that speaks about your emotions and not as a poem, it's easier to get those down. It's easier to think of you were feeling sad and the reasons why you were feeling sad instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to write a poem about sadness. So, poetry, in short, is a connection of events that's happened to you, that's evoked some feelings in you, that's gotten you to a point where you feel like you want to write those things down on paper. When I started writing, those were exactly the things that I thought about for myself. And through this, I have been able to publish 3 books. I just would like to share some of my books with you, show you what they look like. If you would like to purchase them, they are on Amazon, and I would also like to read 1 or 2 of my poems for you so you could be inspired as well. So my first book that I'm going to show you is the first book that I wrote. It's called Dear Fat Girl, You Are Not Broken. Right, this is available on Amazon, and this book I wrote as kind of like an ode to myself. I wanted it to be the story that I was afraid to put out there, but I wanted to face my fears. So I decided that this was the first book that I was going to write with a little bit of pressure from a friend who knew that I had it in me. So I'm going to read one of the poems from this book today. And it is definitely about being fat, and I know some people are uncomfortable with hearing about that, but that is my reality, you know, and I just want people to understand that sometimes your reality might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it makes great poetry. So this is just titled Dear Fat Girl. Dear fat girl, your auntie called you fat today. You were not prepared for it. Knew when she said it that it was a dirty word. The acid left her eyes and dripped out of her mouth onto your skin. It burnt you, left marks around your belly that you were not prepared for. It cut you deep, left wounds on your arm that would take decades to heal. You wanted to slap her, shout at her, curse her, anything to make her eat her contempt. Instead, you believed her when she said that you were not worthy. Instead, you made her poison your gospel, thinking that you were not worth it. Instead, you accepted her twisted ideals of reality, actualized her hate, and proceeded to starve yourself of the very love you needed to dig you out of the pit you found yourself in, as if starving out your love would somehow make you thin. It took you too long to realize that her saying that you were ugly did not validate your beauty, that her spitting out the word fat with such bitterness was a reflection on her alone, not you. You bought in for too long into the idea that being fat meant you had to stop loving you, start hating you, allow your own mind, eyes, and lips to slowly destroy you, until, fat girl, you had nothing left. Okay, so this poem, when I wrote it, it was about something that happened to me when I was younger, and I really wanted to capture the emotion that I felt then, and I didn't want it to be a happy ending of me finding that, yes, you know, my aunt was horrible and, you know, using that to build me up, you know, which is what it did, you know, but I just wanted to kind of capture the other side of that emotion before I got to the uplifting bits. My second book is Conversations Before Noon. I know that everything is backwards now. I hope that when this video is published online, it will probably be the right way around. I will try to do a still at the end of this video where you can see all the books next to each other, and they hopefully will be the right way around. So this is Conversations Before Noon. I'm not going to read a poem from this one for you, but it's also available on Amazon for purchase, and this second book has got a range of poems on there that is lots of stories from my life. And quite a few of them are shorter as well, so that's nice. And finally, I've got this book here, which is Letters to My Soul. This is my third and final poetry book, and I am going to read a poem from this one because the prompt that I'm going to give you at the end is based on this poem that I'm now going to read. This book is, I think, my coming of age one, and it's my coming home book, and so therefore I feel like this is appropriate for the prompt that I'm going to give you after. So this poem is called Home. Home is nowhere now. Broken by the distance I crossed when the ocean stretched between me and the island, I struggle to place myself here or there. Sometimes I feel like home no longer knows me, no longer wishes to welcome the woman I have become because it's still longing for the girl that I used to be. Instead of this hollow feeling of longing that burns inside my chest, I wish I could sing a return song and run into her arms without her commenting on the change in my tongue. I'm trying to put pieces of myself back together in ways that home recognizes, in ways that home doesn't feel the need to cast out, but I remain conflicted as I fight myself and my ever-growing places. When I look back, I want to call home and to be reconciled. Yet, whether she wants me back or not, I reach home and hold her always in my heart, instead of only in my mind. Okay, this poem I wrote after I came from back home. I'm originally from the Caribbean, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about home and where home is to me and what it means to me and how my ideas of home has changed. And so what I would like you to do now is I would like you to have a think of, what does home mean to you? Where do you call home? How has your idea of home changed over the years? Perhaps you thought home was one thing, and then you realized that it wasn't, that it was something else. I would like you to have a reflection about those questions that I've just asked. And then I would like you to write a few thoughts down on the page. I would like you to write down what home means to you, where you call home, and how your idea of home has changed. And when you've written those down and you've reflected on your words, I would like you to try to put those thoughts together. And dare I say, write a poem that reflects on home. You could call it home or you could call it something else. But I want you to capture the feeling that home evokes in you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Thank you so much for engaging in this video that I'm putting out right now. And thank you so much for trying this prompt. And if you do write any poem, I would love, absolutely love, to hear what you come up with. Thank you.